All right, let's get into segment number 3. Segment 3 is called Market Matters, where we examine what's relevant today in the ever-changing real estate market, and it's made possible by our friends at buyingandsellingla.com, because what matters to them is you. Email them at buyingandsellingla@gmail.com and get started today with Southern California's premier real estate team. Topic for today: does my financing really matter or make a difference to the seller?
Yes.
It's like we're on a roll here with financing.
Absolutely.
That was the segue there before. Huh?
It was we could have segued, but I'm not as good as I used to be.
There's a pecking order when sellers are looking at your offers, I would say.
Which surprised me earlier when you said that, that the seller has. Why would the seller be concerned?
No, I think
it's actually the listing agent.
It's the real estate agent.
Yeah, I don't think a seller even knows to think about what they're.
It depends who the seller is.
Sellers know now too, though. They hear things or know things now too. They hear
seller
things.
Could be bank, is what you're saying.
Well, the thing is
smart.
Agents, we're not lenders, but from our experience past, we have to advise the seller. Because they're usually going to ask, look at these offers. And I will tell them, I'll look at the offers, and based on my opinion, I'll tell you who looks stronger than the next person and why. And I have to be honest about it.
Is some
FHA
sort of...
and VA goes in the do not look pile.
Why are they less? Why is that buyer less strong?
It's a more stringent appraisal guidelines.
Don't look this way. You're not going to get any help.
No.
Well, I think
trouble.
We talked about this a while back. Like my experience with VA, I was raised by a veteran, so forth. But the lending approach or policies with them is a little tougher for some things.
If that's found out, isn't that discrimination? And can't they get sued and get in a lot of trouble?
I don't know if it's. I don't know if there's a policy in there that says anything beyond like religion and color and ethnicity and race and all that preferences, stuff like that.
Financing
it's
is
finances.
So when the seller or the agent that's working for the seller sees conventional, they believe that that's stronger than if they see FHA and VA.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would say it's cash, conventional, FHA, VA.
So to what extent, how much money is it worth? Like if I put in a $325,000 conventional offer and there's a $328,000 FHA offer.
Well, here's a question, and we'll combine this.
I try.
Let's say there's a house for $400,000.
Okay.
You get an FHA and a conventional buyer.
Right.
The conventional person, let's say, is going to put 25% down.
Right.
The FHA person is going to put the minimum.
3.5.
Yeah.
Right.
And let's say that FHA person, the house is $400,000. The FHA person offers $420,000. The conventional offers $415,000.
Okay.
What is the gap from your experience where you'd be concerned about that appraisal? How many several thousands of dollars?
Well, that doesn't have to do with the financing. That has to do with the liquid reserves of the buyer and whether or not they're prepared to bring in the money.
I can't see a seller, the seller of the home, other than a bank. I can't see a seller of a home saying, "Oh, I'll take $5,000 less for conventional."
Well, the thing is you take the $5,000 more in the eyes of the seller. Like where I work with the banks mostly, and the way the banks look at it is, if that appraisal doesn't come in, I'm going to have to give this property away for $415,000 or $410,000 anyway. So why not take the lower risk over here at the conventional person who's putting so much in that their lender's looking at them as as putting more in the pot.
Right.
I thought you were going somewhere with pudding, like Jello pudding.
Yeah,
they're vested more in it. That 25% down buyer.
This is a skin in the game thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's the perception that the more money the buyer is willing to put in, the more serious the buyer is, and I mean there while there is validity, I think, to that maybe. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that the FHA person is less qualified.
I was going to say
by any stretch, but in the case of do they have the liquid reserves? Somebody who's putting $20,000 in, and the appraisal comes in low.
They may be putting all their money in. By the way,
yeah, they might be, but I mean having that flexibility. But it's one of those things that I think that it's not. there isn't a real good reason for it. It's just the way that it's always been. So I think that maybe the way that it's been in the past, I don't know, guys.
Because to me,
That's
a
just the
conventional
way
loan,
it is, babe.
FHA or VA, to me, it's
but-
all the same. If you're pre-approved, you're pre-approved. It's going to take me 30 days to get it done.
But
So-
Frank
Right.
seems to think.
But Frank seems to think
Well,
otherwise.
but then there's like say for the VA too, there are certain repairs that will have to be made by the seller if they agree, to move forward with that VA buyer, and there's no way around it. The FHA is not so much; it's a little looser. But I agree with Scott back there. I've had FHA buyers send in the highest offer over the list price. Of course, seller's concerned about the appraisal, but then I go ahead and give more nuance of what the buyer's also saying, that they're willing to pay the difference of the appraisal if it comes down to that. Then they show that they got the funds to do it. They put themselves in a stronger position. Although you'd wonder why, if they do have all these extra funds, why don't they go conventional? Well, it goes
could
back
be a
to
number of
I think
reasons.
it's a
just be
perception.
debt to
It could be
income
a
ratio.
number.
it goes
number
back
of
to
reasons.
maybe FHA is just what fit them according to whatever their
Right.
credit or
Right.
other
They
things.
could have 47% debt to income instead of 45,
Yeah.
and they have to take FHA.
Right.
It doesn't make them less qualified
Yeah.
of a buyer. I think it's a false perception that those buyers are not as qualified, and the deal's going to fall out.
And I actually do think it is, listening to you, just simply because I noticed that most of my FHA buyers, VA, they tend to get into REO homes where it really just comes down to the bottom line. There isn't some sort of bias that's coming in.
Yeah.
So it's a bias because they're taking the crappy homes.
When it's the bank seller, they get really cut and dry, and they go by all the myths, all the stereotypes, everything. They
Right.
kind of feel like they have to because they're on a time limit.
Damn racist banks.
No, but with a conventional
Finances.
seller, if a lot of times they like that highest offer, and I tell them these could be the risk, but if you're willing to possibly fall out of escrow with this person, and then we go back to market, and you're willing to take that chance, and let's do it. You'll make an extra $7,000.
How much do you upplay the risks for FHA and VA?
Well, I just have to tell them, that the appraisal's a little tighter, may not come in, and give them just straight across the board the risk. And maybe this buyer isn't as qualified, maybe their credit isn't as good. I don't know that. We don't know that. If I try not to talk about the personal side of it, because sometimes agents will send everything in social security numbers, bank statements with accounts right flat up on top, although I tell them not to do this stuff because that's very personal information. And they'll show them everything about this person, where if I was some kind of
Or they can just connect you on
identity
Facebook.
thief,
But,
They can learn everything about them.
Elisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but the appraisal is not tighter. It just it leans. It looks more at. It
Health and
basically
safety?
it basically rolls. Yeah, it's health and safety, but it rolls in a home inspection.
Correct.
So it should, but that should not affect. That's only condition of the property. That shouldn't affect value at all.
Correct.
The value is what the value is.
So if I go back to
So
the
you're-
topic, does
And that's
does
true.
financing
Right?
Yeah.
really matter or make a difference to the seller? The answer is
Yes.
that
yes.
in perception is
Based
yes,
on perception,
but in
yes.
reality, no.
No.
But the perception is the reality at this point.
Projected
And let me
by
tell
the
you
real
one
estate
thing.
agents.
Frank, I'm going to show you one appraisal that I did for an FHA. Both myself and the agent were like, wow,
Well,
we got this one through.
back when things were when homes were flying like hotcakes, and you had the stated
quick, we gotta move on.
income loans, all that. Things were looser then, even. But when they were basically told to clamp down, they really clamped down hard. In the past 5 years, I'd say it's probably been 3-1 where I've had a problem with an FHA buyer rather than a conventional buyer when it came down to value and
Yeah, but aren't your
repairs and things
buyers
like
3-1 FHA over conventional?
What's that?
Your
Right.
buyers are 3-1. There's 3 FHA buyers for every
For everyone.
convention.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. If all the offers come in and they're FHA, then the seller is going to go with the best FHA they can.
There you go.
If there's conventional and there isn't a substantial difference where
Or
they
cash.
feel or cash, So, but that's Alicia's right. Alicia's right. I'm sorry. They categorize
Lisa,
things
Lisa,
when the offers come in. They well, at least the banks do.
All right.